Human activity at sea is vast and constantly changing. But what happens on the ocean remains largely unseen. Commercial and fishing vessels are required under international law to be fitted with systems that transmit data showing where they are, but many vessels simply do not broadcast their location, effectively going dark.
Well, there are lots of reasons to turn the transponder off. We know that oil tankers that are hauling oil, which is subject to sanctions, will often turn their AS transponders off. They will also sometimes broadcast false locations, so they'll make it look like they're somewhere other than where they actually are, so that way when they go into a port they're not supposed to be in, they don't show a position in that port.
For over a decade, the non-profit organization Global Fishing Watch has been using technology to shine a light on issues such as illegal fishing, sanction breaking, and potential human rights abuses at sea. It provides high-resolution maps to governments and supports enforcement agencies to monitor all ocean activity.
We track fishing vessels with satellite technology, and we apply machine learning, artificial intelligence models to figure out where they're fishing. And so we do this by collecting a system that's called AIS, so Automatic Identification System, and it's one of its primary purposes is collision avoidance. And then we apply machine learning models to it to figure out which ones are the fishing vessels, where are they fishing, what kind of gear are they using, and then we put that all on a public map.
If we look at the Galapagos Islands, and if I go back in time to 2020, we can see that the Chinese squid fleet was extremely active and used to fish right up to the boundary of the Galapagos EEZ, which is obviously a hugely important global site for biodiversity. These data are able to kind of show paint a really stark image of a kind of armada of fishing vessels fishing right outside the boundary of the EEZ, potentially putting pressure on the protected species inside. From 2021 onwards, we saw a big shift in this activity, which is really encouraging because ultimately that's what we want to see. We want to see behavior change on the water, and it's really motivating to see that and be able to visualize it so clearly. If you're interested in a particular vessel, rather than this kind of aggregate view, you want to follow individual vessels, you can also do that by searching for the vessel's name, this timeline of its activity, where all these diamonds show where the vessel had an encounter with another vessel, where they might have exchanged crew, they might have exchanged fish. It correlates with a risk of poor working conditions on these vessels and risk of forced labor. We can kind of take a vessel's record, look at where they said they had encounters, and then compare that to what the data is telling us.
But the AI models don't give a full picture of what's going on.
So the models don't say whether something is illegal. The models just say this vessel was in this place at this time fishing with this kind of gear. Then it's up to an analyst to make a determination whether that was legal or not.
We've seen cases where vessels were fishing, they were going out to sea, there was a very defined season for when they were allowed to fish, but once they're out at sea, no one's really monitoring them, so they basically all started fishing like a day early. And with our data, we're able to give this to authorities and say, look, they're fishing before the season starts.
And they can be sanctioned.
All the vessels were sanctioned, and then the next year, what we're seeing is perfect compliance. They're waiting until the minute of the season opens, and now they're not fishing a second early, that's the win, that's what we want to see.
Pristine beaches and islands around the world are being scraped for their sand, destroying the ecosystem. The industrial use of the ocean affects everybody. You can't manage what you can't see. Our job is to make it visible.